Today on Around Kansas, we pay tribute to some of the musicians inducted in this year's Kansas Music Hall of Fame. Next up, Nick Abt shares a little bit of his Exploration Kansas documentary, busting the myth that Kansas is flat. On the front porch, Duane Toews is joined by Lori Bammerlin. Ron Wilson is back with a poem, and we end with the story about Thomas Boston Corbett from Michelle Martin.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Good morning. Welcome to Around Kansas. I'm Deb Goodrich. It's great to be with you this lovely October day. Can you believe it's October? Wow. I had a gal the other day that said, I just watched to see what kind of bling you and Michelle wear. Well, I'm not that blingy today, but don't you love this pin? This is Russian. So this beautiful Russian girl on this pin. I really love it. So I fried up some bacon. Made myself a cup of coffee. Using the good china. Life is short, people. Use the good stuff. Whether it's your best china, your best mugs, your best sheets, your best towels, use the good stuff. And the coffee, I got to share this with you. This is Arbuckle's. So Arbuckle's has been around since the Civil War. I wonder if it says on here how long it's been around. And it's a staple on chuck wagons. So I actually have an old-fashioned grinder. So no newfangled stuff for me. Got an old-fashioned grinder. So I wish you could smell this morning the bacon and the coffee and grinding that coffee. It smells so good when those beans are grinding up. And we have a fly in the house. Can you believe that? How, after the apocalypse, the flies and the roaches, they will still be here, people. And the telemarketers wanting to know about your car warranty. They'll still be here after Armageddon as well. So I wish you could smell, and apparently the flies are, the bacon and the coffee in the house because it smells wonderful. Just smells wonderful. Have some odds and ends this morning that I want to share with you. For one thing, the nominees for this year's Kansas Music Hall of Fame for, I guess it would be for 2021. Those have been announced, and I will read the whole list to you maybe next week. In the meantime, you can visit their website. And a shout out, though, a special shout out to a couple of people who made that cut. And the Santa Fe Trail Association is very tickled that Annie Wilson is being nominated for the Kansas Music Hall of Fame. And Annie, if you go to the website for the Santa Fe Trail Association, has the official song of the Santa Fe Trail. So lovely Annie Wilson. And we've shared segments with Annie before. So I know you'll really enjoy listening to her Santa Fe Trail song. Another person who has been nominated, who is near and dear to our hearts, is Lee Wright. And Lee retired from KTWU, so many of you saw Lee on there with their fundraisers. But he is Carla Hall's father, and Carla handles our social media here at Around Kansas and Ag AM. So when you see all those shows posted, all of our segments after they air, that's because Carla put those up. And so her dad, Lee Wright, is a nominee for Kansas Music Hall of Fame for 2021. So a special shout out to them, and congratulations to all the nominees. It is a pretty awesome group of individuals and bands who make up the Kansas Music Hall of Fame, and you can vote by joining the membership vote, so you can vote for your favorite person to get in. We've got a wonderful show. I'm so pleased with all the contributions we've got today, so make sure that you stay with us. Get your friends and relatives. There's still time to call them and tell them Around Kansas is on the air.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff, like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to Western Kansas.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
We're always thrilled to share the work of Nick Abt. This is a segment from a film that he did that was nominated for an award, and we've got some of that information on screen for you so you can see. And I think part of the awards were People's Choice, which were voted on the other day, and I'm not sure about the results yet, but when I find out, I'll pass that along to you. In the meantime, go to the website so you can see this entire film. We're so proud of Nick, another transplant who has really made Kansas his home and champions Kansas and its attributes at every hand.
Kansas, has its reputation as being fairly flat and featureless and not very, interesting geologically. And certainly there are parts of the high plains in the rest of the state where I'd say, yeah, I can understand that reputation. What I would say to people is get off the big highways, get off of I-70, get off the turnpike, open your eyes, take a little bit of time, and see what's out there.
The prairie is kind of an acquired taste. We don't have huge mountains, we don't have ocean beaches and whatnot, but the prairie is appreciated in its details, in its fine details. And sometimes you have to actually get down at that level in order to appreciate it fully, appreciate all the variety of pollinating insects and other insects that live there, the variety of flowering plants, over 800 flowering plant species in Kansas alone. And most of those are prairie species, either tallgrass or shortgrass prairie species. Each one has figured out how to live here. Each one has learned through trial and error and over the millennia what it takes to survive in this place, and each one has valuable lessons to teach us about how we can survive here too.
to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to Western Kansas.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
This segment brought to you by Bob Schwartz Financial. Values, commitment, transparency.
Duane Toews joining you once again on the program. My guest today, Lori Bammerlin from Keats, Kansas. She's the president of the Kansas Agri-Women. Lori, tell us a little more about the Kansas Farmer Feed Signs program that many folks have seen along the highways here in Kansas.
The sign project started not right after we were founded in 1973, but in around 1977. One of the Kansas Agri-Women founding members was Jean Mertz, and her husband were heading to San Angelo, Texas to buy some lambs. And she'd seen along the way that all these different signs and billboards talking about what people were trying to sell. And she thought, why are we in agriculture not talking about what we want to sell and advertising our commodities? So when she came home, she kind of hit the ground running and started putting up billboards, or kind of like your roadside signs around Kansas, working with the Agri-Women members that own some property along highways or major traveled roads. And it started out that there were eat beef signs, eat lamb, grow wheat, kind of a variety of agriculture signs, along with that kind of iconic grocery sack sign that says "One Kansas Farmer Feeds."
Obviously, it goes back to that initial imprint that the Mertz family had from that trip and trying to promote. It's grown and changed a bit through the years as well.
Yeah, we had approximately 70 signs originally when it started, with all those different commodities. And if someone had land and they raised cattle, they'd say they wanted a beef sign on there. It kind of changed. Again, things come in cycles and the change of the time. So I think there was a time where we just kind of thought it would maintain itself, but it didn't really. And farms change hands and generations. And so in the last few years, we've got comments from people saying, oh, I've seen this sign about Kansas farmers feeding and eat beef and growing wheat, and tell us more about that. And so we thought that was probably one of the best ways to promote that producer to consumer with understanding and telling people about agriculture, and so we chose that grocery sack sign. So we've been focusing on that since it encompasses all of the variety of agriculture produced in Kansas, anywhere from dairy to wheat, and there's meat in that grocery sack. And so we've just started replacing all of the signs that have needed some repair with that grocery sack sign.
I understand that Thomas Sign Company was a big part of the early efforts and maybe continues as well.
Yeah, the founder of Thomas Signs, he originally hand-painted all of those signs. So some of those old signs that are holding up really well is that tape they used back in the day, but it really held up in the Kansas weather. And so he's hand-painted them, and technology changes in every aspect, and now we have, it's a plastic vinyl wrap that's heavy duty that should last for anywhere from 5 to 7 years, kind of depending on what direction it's facing and how much weather and sun it gets. And so Thomas Signs is still helping us put those signs up along the way, and we also have been putting some up ourselves. It's kind of a wrap, and we're able to actually install some of them ourselves.
Our thanks to Lori Bammerlin, president of Kansas Agri-Women, joining us on the program. I'm Duane Toews. Have a great day.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
At Farm Credit, we partner with America's farmers who work hard each and every day to grow the food that we all enjoy. It's not an easy task, but it's an important one. Farm Credit is proud to work with farmers and ranchers, lending support in rural America.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
One of many things which we take for granted in our modern society is that we can walk into the house, flip a handle, and a stream of pure, clean water will flow out for our use. But it was not the case for those pioneer settlers who came west. In many cases, the search for water was a matter of life and death. But the ranchers found that they could use the wind. They could harvest the wind and use windmills to produce that life-giving water. This poem is titled Wind and Water. When the pioneers came west and as conditions grew hotter, at stake was life itself in the endless search for water. In their quest for new lands and the destiny of their dreams, they came west along the rivers and stayed quite close along the streams. But when they settled down to farm and find a place to dwell, it was essential that they find a productive water well. For watering the livestock and as domestic needs were asked, a windmill was important to meet these vital tasks. In a machine shop in Connecticut, one Daniel Halliday designed a type of windmill that is still in use today. With a fixed vane and blades, it could adjust to the wind and pump the life-giving water on which their hopes were pinned. There was no electric power or gas engines for the well, so the windmill was a godsend, as a pioneer would tell. Some 6 million windmills were installed across the nation until there came gas engines and rural electrification. But it's possible to find where such a relic still remains, the windmill of the West, a sentinel of the plains. Happy trails.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer it and work with you.
Kansas Farm Bureau has served farm families in rural Kansas for more than 100 years. We're pleased to offer new healthcare coverage choices for Kansans in 2020 through Kansas Farm Bureau Health Plans. No matter what stage of life you're in, we'll have options that fit your lifestyle. Plus, our network of providers is one of the largest available throughout the state of Kansas and beyond. For more information, including the different plans available, or to get a quote, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Last week we did a rerun from a segment that Frankie and I did a couple of years ago on the ghost at the State House. So this week, Michelle is continuing with the theme of the State House, but a very, very different story. And this is one that's kind of near and dear to our hearts as Civil War historians. And I'm really thrilled that she could share it with you this morning. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Deb, and happy October. This month, I want to look at the spooky, odd, and unusual side of Kansas history. Today, let's begin by meeting a man who was definitely all three. Thomas Boston Corbett. He was born in London, England in 1832 and came to America seeking a better life. A personal tragedy, the death of his wife and child, drove Thomas Corbett to a Boston religious revival meeting. Changing his name to Boston, Corbett found a home for himself spiritually. With the eruption of the Civil War, Corbett joined the Union Army to help eradicate slavery. While a soldier, Corbett spent time as a prisoner of war in the infamous Andersonville prison. After his release, he returned to active duty, and with the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln, Corbett would find himself on the trail of the nation's most wanted fugitive, John Wilkes Booth. As Corbett's unit surrounded Booth in a tobacco barn on the Garrett farm, Booth refused to surrender. On April 26, 1865, Corbett peered through a gap in the barn wall, raised his weapon, and fired. Booth died from his wounds later, and Corbett said that God avenged Abraham Lincoln's death. Instead of being branded a hero, Corbett was arrested for disobeying orders and faced court-martial. Eventually, he was released and made his way to Kansas in 1878. Rural Cloud County proved an ideal location for Boston Corbett to escape the world. He lived in a small dugout, and locals said he kept to himself, always had a rifle in hand, and refused to speak of the events that made him famous. In 1887, Corbett was given the job of the assistant doorkeeper of the Kansas House of Representatives. He wore his army holster and pistol while on the job. But one day in 1887, Corbett overheard lawmakers chatting. He believed their comments were blasphemous. He brandished his weapon, and what happened next is the stuff of lore. Some say he held the legislators hostage. Others claimed he fired shots, while others said he barred the door and lectured the lawmakers. After being arrested, Corbett was declared insane and committed to the Topeka Insane Asylum. Corbett's story did not end behind the walls and doors of the asylum. In May 1888, Corbett made a daring escape. While out walking with other patients, he spied a horse hitched near the asylum entrance and borrowed it to make his escape. Riding south, Corbett vanished. Boston Corbett sightings kept Kansas authorities busy. He was sighted in Neodesha and was said to be en route to Mexico. He was later seen in the Indian Territory selling patent medicine. Imposters posing as Corbett cropped up trying to claim his pension, while authorities in Minnesota claimed he died in a fire. To this day, no one knows what became of Boston Corbett's Lincoln's Odd Avenger. I hope you enjoyed today's look at Boston Corbett, and you'll join me next time for another historical adventure somewhere around Kansas.
I really appreciate your sharing your time with me. You have a great week, and in the meantime, I'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org. Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to western Kansas.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.